I want to talk about deceit and diplomacy and the perverse benefit of delusion. Specifically, Putin's paper-thin Easter ceasefire, a 30-hour gesture heavy on incense and PR, but light on substance, and how it paradoxically gives Donald Trump a threadbare reason to remain engaged in the Ukraine peace process. This is not peace, of course. This is theatre, but it may be the only stage on which a deal, however begrudgingly, can still be acted out. On April the 20th, Vladimir Putin, in a gesture wrapped in liturgical grandeur and strategic cynicism, announced a 30-hour Easter ceasefire while he plucked a candle, lit it, and stood there looking rather timid. No sooner had the ink dried than drones flew, shells fell, and Ukraine's front lines lit up once more. President Zelensky counted 387 shellings, 19 assaults within the first 6 hours alone. The truce was not a commitment, it was a stunt. What was Putin doing? At one level, this was global optics. A Potemkin truce declared with the Orthodox Church in the background was intended to showcase Russia as the magnanimous partner in peace, the side that can say we tried. Yet the Kremlin deployed junior delegates to negotiations, demanded Ukraine disarm, abandon NATO, and federalize its state, conditions so audacious they amount to dictates in diplomatic drag. Now, to Donald Trump. He promised to end the Ukraine war on day one of his second presidency, a boast equal parts hubris and hallucination, and his administration has quietly brokered meetings between envoys, Witkoff shuttling off to Rome, Rubio in Paris, and yet the grand deal eludes. This Easter charade, this Easter parade, despite its transparent dishonesty, allows Trump, however, to say the process is ongoing. It keeps him at the table, and bizarrely, this is not the worst outcome. Why? Because if Trump walks away, so does the only channel of US-Ukraine-Russian dialogue currently functioning. And while one can and should question Trump's motives, his ongoing involvement remains a firewall against total breakdown. It's performance, but performances still hold attention. I think now is the time for Erdogan to move in. But the deceit of Putin is not just malice, it's strategy. And he knows that any honest ceasefire would require military concessions, international observers, and formal recognition of territorial integrity. But a false ceasefire lets him test reactions, justify retaliations, and most crucially keep Trump entangled. And this is useful to Trump too. It prevents the US from appearing disengaged or impotent. It offers him time to recalibrate, to pressure Kyiv, to float trial balloons like the shocking proposal to recognize Crimea as Russia, a red line for Ukraine, but perhaps a card in Trump's warped poker deck. And you notice what Trump has actually said this evening. It's not, oh, you're lying, Putin. It's, oh, can we extend this ceasefire? Interesting. He's sort of playing the game, isn't he? There is a danger, the growing tide of anti-Ukraine polemic, often amplified by Trumpist media and isolationist lawmakers. It casts Ukraine as an ingrate, a drain, a liability, and this must stop. If Trump is to broker peace, he cannot simultaneously disparage the partner he needs. A deal requires pressure, not prejudice. Kyiv has already signed a 30-day ceasefire. Moscow has not. The facts matter, so does the narrative. And Ukraine is not refusing peace, it's refusing capitulation. That distinction is everything. So, what are we left with? A ceasefire that was never sincere, a war that grinds on with civilians paying the price, but a US president who cannot walk away without political humiliation, and a Russian president who cannot concede without strategic collapse. And yet, amid all this, a window remains cracked, grimy, narrow, but actually open and opening. The Easter truce may be a lie, but it keeps Trump engaged, and keeping Trump engaged, paradoxically, might be the only way this bloody stalemate avoids becoming an endless war, or expanding. And so, however grudgingly, let's welcome the lie, if only because it buys the truth. It buys us time.